Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing tonight? Wow, this is a lovely crowd. Welcome to Governor State University. I am TJ Shanoff. I am a director and writer and musical director with the Second City. And welcome to Chicago Live. How many have seen Chicago Live before? Let me hear you. That's a lot. How many of you have Chicago Live versions? How many out there? How many of y'all are just plain old virgins? That's kind of a question. Rick wanted me to ask you that did not come from me. If you're in for a special, diverse evening, keep that applause going as we welcome to kick off Chicago Live at Governor State University, the Otis Clay Review, ladies and gentlemen.
What you doing now? That's in my mind. Chicago Live thing.
Yesterday, she walked by my way. Well, I got so shook up inside, I couldn't find words to say. No, I got so mixed up, felt just like a fool. I got so disgusted, I guess I just lost my cool. Well, I said, love, 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 it's coming after me. Yes, sweet, sweet love, just won't let me be. I don't even know her name. No. When I see her tomorrow, will the outcome be the same? No. I have this feeling, this wonderful feeling inside. Well, I have the courage to man up and speak to her, I fall on my foolish pride. Well, I said, love, 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 it's coming after me. This sweet, sweet love just won't let me be. No. I can think of 1,000 things I would like to say, but when I'm around her, the words don't come my way. Word to word, line by line, just so I can tell her, baby, what's on my mind. Ooh. I said, love, 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 it's coming after me. Well, the sweet, sweet love just won't let me be. No. I can think of 1,000 things I would like to say, but when I'm around her, the words don't come my way. I rehearse the words line by line, just so I can tell her, baby, what's on my mind. I said, love, 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 it's coming after me. See, just sweet, sweet love just won't let me be. No. I said, love, 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 it's coming after me. Well, this sweet, sweet love just won't let me be. Baby,
the Otis Clay Review, ladies and gentlemen. And now, keep that applause going for Rick Kogan and Chicago Live.
Be proud of yourselves. This is officially, by my strange eye count, the largest crowd in the history of Chicago Live. That either says something very good about your taste in life or about the lack of activities in this neck of the woods. That's the new official Tribune band. If you get a year-long subscription to the Tribune, they will come over and play for you, and then you have to buy them dinner. If anything out here, I feel wildly underdressed, given those guys, especially Mr. Clay. Thank you for coming. I know for some of you, this place, anybody who came from the city, how many came from the city? Meaning Chicago. How many of you walked in here and said, Jesus Christ, this place is hard to find? Sorry you didn't get stuck by that train, too. That's happened to me. I love Governor's State. I love the sculptures here. I love the people here. How many graduates of Governor's State in here? Well, that's pretty good. Well, you're sitting in the back because you were the wild children in class? Is that why? Look at those three women yelling. Thank you for coming. You're going to hear more from Otis Clay, and you'll get what we like to think of as a well-rounded showcase of what the Tribune is. It's kind of like the newspaper coming to life. Toward that end, I'd like to welcome two of my colleagues. They are Tribune watchdogs, George Papajohn and Heather Gillers. George is almost now like an executive. What's your exact title?
Associate Managing Editor, Investigations and Consumer Watch. Or Watchdog Editor, which is much easier.
He's done a remark. How many of you subscribe to the Tribune? All I can say, and I know I speak for George and Heather and Jerry Kern and everybody else from the Tribune, God love you. George, you were, and I miss your writing. What drew you to the investigative part of newspapering?
Well, I think really it's the unique opportunity to tell untold stories, get to the real truth, and really, ultimately, hopefully make an impact in the world.
What was your first investigative piece? Do you remember?
Well, it was really interesting. The first year that I joined the Tribune's projects team as an editor, we launched our death penalty series.
With Maury Posley, Steve Mills.
Ken Armstrong,
Yeah.
right. And we really exposed the deep flaws in the system in Illinois, and it really helped lead to an important change in the way that people thought about that issue in Illinois and actually across the country.
You know, I'm not sure investigative, yeah, indeed, worthy of applause. I'm not sure investigative reporting becomes more impactful than saving people's lives, you know what I mean? Heather, you're a newer colleague of mine. What brings you to the Tribune, and what brought you in your previous Tribune life to investigative reporting? What is it that appeals to you about that?
It's a really great privilege to work at the Tribune on the investigative team and to be able to work with really great colleagues. Prior to coming here, I was on the investigative team at the Indianapolis Star, so it's been an interest and a passion of mine for a long time. You can really change things with investigative stories.
She started sort of as an investigative reporter, reporting on cultural matters, sort of seeing where the money was and where it had gone at Field Museum, which was terribly eye-opening for me. Remember those pieces? That's your money. George, what does it take? What are the qualities you look for? This is not an ad in the back pages of the Reader, but what qualities do you need to see in an investigative reporter? There have to be more than just the interest in investigating things. It's got to be more complicated.
Well, in some ways, it isn't real complicated. It really is the desire to get the job done and that commitment. And there's so many ways for people to stand in the way of a great investigative story, whether it's denying a records request, whether it's lying to you, deceiving to you. And ultimately, the best investigative reporters have what Heather has, and all of our investigative reporters have, and that's that willingness to not stop until they get to the truth. And that, to me, is the most basic thing. You can talk about computer-assisted reporting skills, the ability to spend days and hours and weeks on end looking through complicated documents. You have to do all those things, but really the most important thing is to not give up, and that's what I look for.
So Heather Gillers, in essence, you were not afraid to have doors slammed in your face, phoned. You know, you can't hang up a phone in the great old ways you used to, remember? You're from where? The Tribune? Click. You persevere, and that is part of the appeal of it, is it not?
Definitely. I mean, with the most recent story we worked on, we actually hired outside lawyers to get documents that the city didn't want to give up, so that was great.
Let's talk about that last big series. It was, when you deal with, a lot of investigative reporting deals with money. Where is it, where did it go, and who's got it? This one, dealing with bonds and the complicated issue that it's complicated. Those idiots in Springfield don't even understand it. You had to investigate it and translate it to the public. How difficult was that for both of you?
Well, I think that was the real hurdle. We knew it was important. We knew this was borrowed money that was really threatening to undermine the future of the city. But how could we explain general obligation bonds to the general audience? How could we explain these findings? And that really took a lot of hard work on the part of the reporters to become experts. They spent a lot of time talking to other experts in the field, coming to me and saying, can I spend $100 on this book about how bonds work? And basically going to school on bonds so that they could sit down with the people in the city or with other experts and talk to them on that same level and become experts themselves.
So Heather, in essence, you've become a financial expert. And how does that translate to your personal life? Just joking.
Yeah, I mean, we had to learn a lot for this story, and we were lucky to be able to spend a lot of time learning all of that. By the end of it, you know, we were talking to business school professors, and they knew exactly what we were talking about, and we knew what they were talking about.
What was the response? I'm curious, George, always about the response from the public, because sometimes it seems as if, unless it's the most incendiary kind of, we found Mayor Emanuel with a 4-year-old girl somewhere, I don't know what's the reaction from the public now, from the readers like you? Do you write and say to the Tribune, what a great series, you've really helped me explain, or do you get that kind of feedback?
Well, I think when we do our job well, what I really find is people are grateful, that they understand at a very basic level that this is the type of information, the type of investigative reporting they're not going to get from other sources available to them in the local market or elsewhere, that really we bring a unique talent and commitment to it. And so for this series, I think that was definitely the case. People were, I think, appalled and on one level, but also thankful that we brought this to light. Nobody was talking about the city's huge debt burden until we brought it up.
In these precarious times, I don't have to tell you people, certainly you Tribune people, these are precarious times for newspapers, and around the country, we see nothing but newspapers shrinking. And I'm not here to laud the Tribune unreasonably, or have you do that, but what does it say to the two of you? And then I will let you go. What does it say to the two of you that the Tribune, because investigative, it's not instant gratification. It takes time, it takes people, it takes a lot of time. What does it say to you, George? You've been around for a while in this newspaper business. What does it say to you that the Tribune is willing to invest in that?
Well, I think it takes a couple of things. It does take the ability of a newspaper to hire the talent that can do the types of things that Heather and Jason and Trish did on that municipal bond series. But also it says to me that it's a recognition that this is what we do better than anybody else. And that makes sense on another level. It helps us in the marketplace. Where can you turn to for this type of information? Well, hopefully people think of, when they think of investigative reporting, watchdog reporting, accountability reporting, they'll think of us, and I think rightly so.
It's great, then people don't think of it as expendable. Heather, I'm assuming you just think, wow, I really got lucky to work in a place like this. Is that true? There aren't many places around. There aren't many papers around.
No, there really aren't. And when I was first thinking about coming here was the same time the Tribune started kind of fattening up at a time when other newspapers were getting thinner. Getting to work with Trish Callahan and Jason Grotto has been a real privilege, and I've learned a lot from doing that. So.
And George Papajohn.
And George Papajohn.
Well, I would ask you for a last question, what's your next investigation? But you're not going to tell me anyway, so I'll just call you tomorrow.
We're going to still write about bonds for a few more months.
Good.
At least.
Good. George Papajohn, Heather Gillers, Watchdog. Oh, you've had music, you've had kind of heavy conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Second City.
Bara, babara, raraba, barara, babara, buro, bo, bo, buro, bo.
Barbara?
Barbara, yes. Yes, you're up.
Okay.
All right. So, have you had your medical care at Walgreens before?
No, this is my first time.
Okay, no worries. No worries, it's just like any other clinic, except this is where they send the bad doctors.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I'm sorry, that came out wrong. What I mean to say is I am a bad doctor.
Oh. I'm sure you're not that bad.
We'll see. All right, so first things first, let me see your card.
What card?
Your Walgreens Balanced Rewards card.
I don't have one.
You don't want the points?
What are the points for?
I don't know, but I have like 40,000.
Okay. I think I'm good. I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. Do you have health insurance?
If I had health insurance, would I be in the back of a Walgreens right now? No, I would not.
Damn, burn on Walgreens.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know, we can do almost anything here medically. We're just not allowed to look inside the butt.
Oh, too bad.
Walgreens representative to Gentleman's Care, please.
No worries. It's not my turn to unlock the Gillette Mark 5 razor, so we're okay.
Well, you have a lot of responsibilities here at Walgreens.
Yes, you know, it's not that bad. You know, you meet a lot of cool dudes who shave. You know, I like that. You know, the worst part is working in such close proximity to the Gatorade.
Gatorade?
Yeah, you know, G2, G3, all the Gs. Oh my gosh. You know, I swear, if you drink that stuff all day and don't work out, it makes you go crazy. You know, your body's like, I need to run.
What is wrong with you?
I will ask all healthcare related questions, okay? So, what is wrong with you?
I need Plan B.
Okay, great. First, let's start with Plan A.
I think there's a misunderstanding. Last night...
Having trouble sleeping.
No, the birds and the bees...
You have bird flu.
No.
You have bee flu.
That's not a thing. No, how do I explain this? When there's a man and there's a woman...
You're getting married. I knew it. Good for you.
No, I'm not, and that's the problem. I need the morning after pill.
Oh. Morning after pill. Okay. Excellent.
No, it's not excellent.
Wonderful.
It's not wonderful.
Six Flags Great Adventure.
Okay, it's none of those things, and you don't need to be writing any of this down right now.
I wasn't. I was drawing your picture.
That is surprisingly accurate.
Yes. I used to work at the Navy Piers.
Okay.
Boy, no, seriously, okay, morning after pill, okay, got it. Now, have to ask you, let me see your card.
I don't have one!
Morning after pill is like 4,000 points.
Can I please get someone over here to clean up all this jelly in aisle 2F?
Oh, no, not jelly. That stuff is so hard to clean. It is half solid, half liquid. I must help them.
Okay, are you even a real doctor?
No. I'm better than a real doctor. I'm Dr. Walgreens. And when you come see me, you get your body right. And on the way out, you get a scented candle that smells like fresh baked cinnamon rolls. And if you come and see me in October, you get a Halloween costume. If you come see me in November, you get that Halloween costume for 90% off.
Okay, you know what? I don't even care because this is a time-sensitive issue, so...
You're right, you're right. Jelly can wait.
Okay. What medical school did you go to?
WebMD.
Oh, nope.
Hi again. This is that's for TJ, yes? Don't let that be for me. This is a portion of the show, for those of you who've never seen it, called The Almanac. And I really almost hate to do this to you, but it is November, and the 22nd is next Friday.
Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good, where anyone at all.
We interrupt this program to bring you a special bulletin from ABC Radio. Here is a special bulletin from Dallas, Texas. 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade today in downtown Dallas, Texas. This is ABC Radio. To repeat, in Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade today. The president now making a 2-day speaking tour of Texas. We're going to stand by for more details on the incident in Dallas. Stay tuned to your ABC station for further details. Now we return you to your regular program.
Remember that? What was your regular program? What is your regular program? Before there was Twitter, before there were iPods, before even television, there was radio. The first regularly scheduled radio station was born on November 2nd, 1920 in Pittsburgh with, and I don't think it gets more exciting than this, with the broadcast of the Warren G. Harding, James M. Cox presidential election results. Chicago, of course, played an important role in radio, for better or for worse. It began in 1923 when the owner of the Tribune wrote a letter to his mother. He was a grown-up man at this time. You cannot help being thrilled at the little box that picks sounds from the air. He meant radio. And so did Colonel McCormick start WGN, and so the next year did he send some folks to Dayton, Tennessee to give all of America the first live coverage of a trial. It was the so-called Scopes monkey trial, and when the WGN folks arrived in Dayton, everyone looked at them in awe. The mayor of the town invited all of them, announcers, engineers, to stay at his house. Announcer Quinn Ryan said, "We were like moon men there, the radio guys from outer space." This is Ryan. He's no Gary Meyer. But he was good. He was good. He is the first man who ever said, radio is almost as good as being there. And he did not disappoint. On the first day of the trial, Ryan said on air, the first words he spoke were, "Here comes William Jennings Bryan. He enters now, his bald pate like a sunrise over Key West." It is really sad for me that the sounds of Ryan, of that courtroom, that trial, of Brian and the opposing attorney, Chicago's own Clarence Darrow, are lost forever. But so much old radio still exists, like this.
And tell me one thing, is you a Democrat or is you a Republican?
Well, I was a Democrat. But I believe I've done switched over to the Republicans now.
Who is the man that is running against each other this year election time? Explain that to me.
Herbert Hoover, Vesuvius Al Smith.
Herbert Hoover, Vesuvius, Al Smith, huh?
Yeah.
Another thing I'm going to ask you. What is the difference between a Democrat and a Republican?
Well, one of them is a mule and the other one is an elephant. That's the way I get it.
Those are the voices of Freeman Gosden and Charles Correll. In 1925, they proposed to WGN Radio a series about what they called a couple of colored characters. The new show they called Sam and Henry, and it quickly became so popular that these two guys said, we want it distributed to other stations. WGN, in one of the Tribune company's least wise moves, said, They quit. They were back on the air on WMAQ radio. Their characters' names changed to... You know how they got that name? They heard two guys, two elderly black men, greet each other in an elevator on the way to work. In 1929, the show left Chicago, went to New York, and became the first show broadcast around the country. Everybody, I don't know if any of you are that old, but everybody listened to the radio in those days. Mothers and kids, fathers and kids, whole families. In 1930, 12 million American households owned the radio. By 1939, that had exploded to 30 million, which was 1/4 of the homes in this country. And so it was in 1933 that a teenage kid was performing as an acrobat at the Century of Progress World's Fair on the lakefront here. At home in Rogers Park after the fair, he listened to a new radio show. He never could have imagined that he was listening to his own future.
With the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty Hi-Yo Silver, the Lone Ranger.
When the Lone Ranger made its way from radio to TV in 1948, the Lone Ranger was played by that former teenage acrobat from Rogers Park, Clayton Moore. Moore played the role sort of sadly his whole life, long after the TV show ended. But he was really proud of saying, I often meet adults in their 30s, 40s, or 50s who, as soon as they recognize me, suddenly become 6 years old again. Radio, is all about memory. Your mind filled with images, frozen in time, and in sounds. Tell me you can look at that face and not see Wrigley Field and not shout, Good old Jack. For those of you from outer space, that's Jack Brickhouse. Now a short quiz for you. Scream it out. What do the letters WGN stand for? Well, you are subscribers. What about WLS? WCFL. Not bad. WBEZ. Yeah, that's going to explain the Z to me. That station's so screwy. I worked there for a while. WBBM. Close, fellas. We broadcast better music. If anybody gets this, I'll give them $10. WMAQ. What? No. But you, because I know you, I may give you $10 anyway. It is probably the most egotistical name ever. It is named after William, W.M., he even put a W in there, A. Quinn, who was publisher of the Chicago Daily News for a time. What about WVON? Correct. That voice was first heard in 1963, that fateful year I mentioned at the beginning of this almanac. It was started by these guys, Leonard and Phil Chess, seen here with Leonard's son, Marshall. They only wanted a radio station so they could promote their record label, the famous Chess Records. But the station surprised everybody by becoming so much more. It became a broadcast sensation. It gave voice to a culture and a community that was otherwise marginalized on the airwaves. The black culture, the black community. It was through WVON that many of us in Old Town and Glencoe and Palos and Harvey were first introduced to the blues, coming at us in large part thanks to this man. He is Purvis Spann, the blues man. You can almost hear that, can't you? And he would often say in our ears, in a whisper late at night through the pillow where we hid our little transistor radios, if you don't love the blues, you've got a hole in your soul. It is with extraordinary delight that I welcome two of the giants of not just radio, but of newspapers in my lifetime, Judy Markey and Kathy O'Malley.
So wait, there was a separation between that and the 100-year-old history of radio, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
Those pictures were so up to date too. Let me ask you, since you deal in this kind of thing, you're the people who would tell me what in God's name is a mojo from that song. I've got
They
mine.
got your mojo workout?
Yeah.
Judy lives in Highland Park.
Wait.
I live in Princeton. What do we know from mojos?
Mojo is like...
Judy's on top of this. This is why you mesh so well together on radio,
is
because you know
like,
everything.
You know, you got your inner soul talking to your body, and it's making it move.
You're scaring me.
That's mojo.
Okay.
How many of you are glad that these young ladies are back on the radio?
Okay.
How?
We made a bet tonight that you would call us young ladies.
How much? Who made the bet? What do you mean we made a bet?
I said.
You made a bet with who?
My Kathy girl.
And how
I
much?
won.
Call us
She's
young
gonna call
ladies.
us young
much?
ladies.
I'll pay it off.
And then we're gonna
I'll
have,
pay
and
it
then
off.
we're gonna have to, you know, like tell. It's like
What other?
the-
Okay,
we're
what
an
I want
art.
to know then. What other bets did you make about things that I might say in the 15 minutes we have?
Nothing.
That's it.
That's it. That's about it. We have no clue what you're going to
How
come up
happy
with.
are you two to be back for those 2 hours every Saturday morning?
Blast.
2 hours of laughing. What's not to be happy about? You know? And it's these people who call in and make it funny, and they pay us.
Which, when you've been on a fixed income for a short amount of time.
Poor Judy Markey. Poor Judy in Highland Park. I know it's 2 hours, but the sort of what I consider the ignominious way that you had to leave the station under
Yeah,
the,
it sucked.
under
That was
the-
unfortunate. They
It
were-
was.
yeah.
It was unfortunate.
It was,
would leave.
yeah.
I'm sure it left a bad taste in listeners' mouths and ears.
It did.
And a bad taste in yours too. Was there any notion of trying to get the party back together on a daily basis after you left WGN?
No.
No, you mean at another place?
Yeah.
At another? No.
Nah.
No. I mean, number one, And please don't feel sorry for us because we had a contract and they had to pay us for not working for a year.
So I thought retirement was great.
So I'm out there in Princeton blowing leaves, you know, I'm thinking, how much do I get paid for this? So yeah. So that was good for us, but it was bad for our listeners. It was really bad. It was a really fast, unexpected goodbye, and that was the worst part.
So
of it.
here's the real story: was that Langmeyer, who was the
He was
puppet
the
of
so-called general manager of the station.
Well,
at
he
the
was the
time.
puppet of the guys upstairs who didn't like us, and he brought us in. I bless Kathy constantly for this move in this meeting because he said, and then we're going to have this big parade and this week of highlights and this glorious, and she goes, Tom, you're fucking firing us. We're so not having a parade. That's what happened.
You know how much, and maybe you made a bet that I would say this too, but so what? You know how much I've admired you, and I admired you both long before you were on radio.
You're a sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
Judy, as a columnist at the Sun-Times, talk for just a couple minutes about the early pre-Kathy and Judy days.
Well, my pre were somewhat parallel to Kath's, but not quite so much. Kath did 5 columns a week, half columns, gossip, and I was lucky enough to have Carol Stoner as an editor over there who hired me, but I kept getting compared to, like, you know,
Irma
the B grade, you know, mail-in Irma Bombeck. And that was a flattering thing, and not so flattering, but it was fun. I always wanted to be a columnist. And the deal was, Kath was tight with Roy Leonard, Bob Collins was taking up my columns, and Lorna Gladstone, bless her heart, put us together.
Was it true? Maybe it's one of the great apocryphal stories
No,
of radio
it's Super
history.
Bowl Sunday.
Super Bowl Sunday is the
Yeah.
first time.
Yeah.
You know, counter-programming, I do believe that's called.
I believe the meeting probably said, nobody's going to be listening. It'll be fine.
Had you two known each other? Had you run into it? You knew each
No,
other?
we were
a bit.
friends. We were just not acquaintances. We were
Had
friends.
you ever?
No.
No ambitions for radio whatsoever.
No.
Have you heard
Kathy,
our voices? Mine especially. No.
you're right. You're right.
Love
Thank
you,
God I
Rick.
was. Thank
Love
God
you,
I was
Rick.
not the general manager at the time. Kathy, for a while, actually worked for me for a while when I was the tempo editor, and God love her. She's a wonderful, wonderful writer, as I'm sure Judy knows. And I came up to her and said, I don't know if I can write these kinds of stories. They were long feature stories. Remember the first story I gave you?
I do.
What
he
was
said,
it?
why don't you go get a cab license?
And drive for a few
cab.
days. And you fell in love with feature writing because of that, didn't you?
Idea. I did. I actually had to go to school.
I know.
With, you know, and
with the-
for a week, and then I had to go take the test, and I had to learn the numbers of the streets and everything, and then I actually drove for a day and ended it with a flat tire. Yeah. It couldn't have been planned any
I
better.
sent out a guy to give her a flat
Oh,
tire.
I hadn't thought of
You know, you two clicked right away, and I think, and became, to my mind, even nationally, something of a phenomenon. I don't know any other two women. There are not enough women on the radio to begin with, and never have been.
Yeah.
But what I think made it work was you could not have you could not have said, okay, now Judy, you'll do this, and you'll say this, and you'll say this. It worked because it was honest. Am I
Totally,
making too much
because
of
at
that?
the very beginning, in our first couple shows, we would sit back in the office and say, okay, well, we'll talk about this, and then I'll say this, and then you'll say that. And we had this fabulous radio show in our office, and then we'd come on the air, and it was flat. And so we decided from that point on, we would not discuss what we were going to talk about until we got on the air.
So that's true today.
Yeah, so it's real.
So she has a list of topics. I have a list of topics. Your turn, my turn. She has no clue. I have no clue. So
whatever the response is real. Yeah.
Did you realize, you don't listen to your own show, but did you realize, and I hope you listeners did, that what you were doing on air was, to my mind, kind of revolutionary, not just in two women, but in that kind of honest, forthright dialogue with callers. Generally, callers either get abused or, hey, Rick, love your show. That's not a conversation.
Thanks for taking my call.
I'm a first-time caller.
That's what we do.
And there are generally not that many people who call in, but you had this, that was the narrative of the show, was it not?
It was their lives. It was their lives, and they have been willing, were for 20 years, and they're doing it again, to tell us the most remarkable things about their lives. And
we're the provocateurs, occasionally judgmental, but always.
Underline that word occasionally, will you please?
But we are a caller-driven show. We book no guests.
I know.
Now, you
We
couldn't
only
get
got
on.
2 hours, so we don't want to, don't want to use it up with.
But in the olden days, you were a co-host with me, remember?
I do indeed. It was
Right.
the
That was fun.
apex of my journalism career. It was. It was.
Ooh,
I know, to be asked
set
by
that
Judy
bar
to
real
do.
low.
You have never meant, even though it's some people who you will meet, and some of you in the audience here will go, oh my God, I was just shocked by what I heard on Kathy and Judy today. That was never your intention, ever, I think.
No, it was always just to talk about stuff.
It was what we would talk about, so we thought, we learned on the radio show that something doesn't happen to only one person. So people's sensibilities, while we know that they're different about different things, you're never going to change anybody about abortion or whatever. When we did here's one of the things. Kathy said 5 women call in. And go ahead, tell what happened.
Oh, 5 women call in. No, 5 women call in who have at least a college degree.
Oh, right, because it had been a...
5 women call in who have at least a college degree, a graduate. Okay, so we get these 5 women, and we start down. Marcia from Orland Park. Do you have a vibrator? Yes. Karen from McHenry. Do you have a vibrator? Yes. And it was, we were following up on a story.
Helen from University Park.
Yeah.
Do you have a vibrator? No, I have 4.
And so that was our way of checking on the accuracy of this survey that had been done that said something like 80% of women who have graduate degrees have a vibrator.
Not graduate, you could be a bachelor.
Undergrad or bachelor.
Do you think we should turn on the house lights and have a
No.
Just joking. Just
no,
joking.
Because it was
just
a
joking.
Rhonda-only call.
Yeah,
and
right.
And so, if you don't have
Rhonda and Vince, correct?
But in terms of the honesty, I was listening to Wendy and Bill today, and Wendy was talking about the fact that the noise that men make in the gym, she believes is the same as the noise they make. And she could not say when they're having sex. She could say when they're having fun or in the bedroom. And
Fooling
I thought,
around.
come on, Wendy, it's when they're having sex. And that's, I think, one thing that we've been straight about.
Absolutely,
yeah.
no question. I happened to hear, call in to Gary Meyer's show one afternoon.
Woo!
And I can say this stuff, they bleep it out for the radio, and shock the living shit out of Gary Meyer. You did that, Kathy O'Malley, because they were doing exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
They're like
dancing
women,
around.
They were sort of women have these things on their body. There are 2 of them,
and they're right.
And Kathy called and
said
used,
their tits. And
are any of you shocked by the use of that word? Seriously now. If so, I ask you to leave.
Yeah. And if you are, what are you doing here?
What kind of life do you have?
Come on. Yeah.
What if you two, and again, the show is on Saturday mornings from 10 to noon. And one of the great things that is when I take my daughter Fiona back from
ballet
learning.
lessons.
No, it's not. She gave up ballet, learning to Irish dance, and she'll get that up too. I'm
Does she have
sure.
one of those wigs? Does she have the wig
Curly
thing
wig?
that they wear?
My daughter will never wear a wig.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, I thought all Irish dancers had those big wigs.
That comes as news to me
like
and
Chaka
Fiona.
Khan.
But I keep saying, she goes, Dad. First time she goes, Dad. I would always tell her, she would say, why are only men on the radio? So now she's like maybe your youngest fan. She's 9.
We'll bring her along.
What have you two, in closing this off, and we could talk forever, and I'll see what that bet was about too. What do you think? Ann Landers used to say that she learned a great deal about human nature and the public from the letter she would receive.
I'm sure she did.
What have you two learned? Because in a sense, you're getting these sort of verbal letters, and you've gotten a ton of them over the years. What have you learned about mankind, humankind, womankind?
I think specifically one of the most shocking and fun-knowing things that I have learned is that some people keep their dining room set all the time because they want their china to be out.
Table set,
Now,
yeah.
on a global response, I would say, less global than the dining room table, I would say that there are wonderful ways that people live their lives that I never had a clue about.
See, and I come away with the absolute knowledge that every single person in this room, in this world, is walking around with a little bit of struggle. And I don't know what it is. You do. And every now and again, radio opens the way for them to share that. And we always say there has never been a single time that anybody has ever called with a struggle, whether it's a kid, a marriage, a job, whatever, that somebody else hasn't called and said, I was there. I survived. It's okay. You're going to get through it. And I think that's the one thing that, for us at least, for the kind of radio that we do, that it shows, and people feel safe in talking about it.
Judy Markey and Kathy O'Malley. Not only smart, lively, lovely, but best of all, they are real.
And now, a public service announcement from the city of Chicago.
On behalf of every Chicagoan, we'd like to say congratulations to New York City's One World Trade Center for being named the tallest building in America, narrowly edging out the former Sears Tower. Good job, NYC, you earned it. And we hope that this major achievement gives you a glimmer of hope when you wake up each morning to garbage bags strewn across every sidewalk, pastrami sandwiches that cost $52, revivals of Broadway musicals nobody liked the first time, a Knicks team that still hasn't recovered from Michael Jordan's beatdowns, the most annoying dialect in America, two super inconvenient airports, the home of Fox News, roided-up cheater Alex Rodriguez, rats the size of Chris Christie, non-whites being frisked just because they're non-white, Anthony Weiner, and that rag you call a newspaper, the New York Post. But don't worry, we here in the second city will continue to enjoy the second tallest building in the U.S., as well as our defending Stanley Cup champion Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. Pizza that doesn't give you instant mouth acne, and a resident who is also the leader of the free fucking world. So congratulations, New York City, and how about those New York Giants?
This public service announcement was brought to you by Marshall Fields, because everyone still hates Macy's.
I'm Howard Reich, and that's Otis Clay. Where can I get a jacket like that?
I can tighten you up.
That was a great set you did. I want to ask you, let's go back a little and tell us, why did you become a singer? Why did you do this thing?
Well, it was nothing that I planned. It was just something that happened, and just kept on doing it for the past, well, anyway.
Well, how did it happen, and when do you remember first singing, first being in church or somewhere and people out there are listening? What do you remember the first time you did that?
I was 4 years old. I was 4, little family group, a brother, 2 nephews, and a cousin. And I was singing bass, you know. So I don't think it was too serious, but, you know, I was singing bass at that time, 4 years old.
And was that in church?
Oh, yeah, at church. You know, we even went to school in church, so everything was happening at the church, but singing.
And what did you hear in church? Tell me about some of the first things you heard, the music that shaped really who you are.
Well, you know, church was kind of a, you know, the black family, you know, and nothing else was happening, you know, other than work. So church was always the relief, you know, that you get, you know, from, and saying that, even in the country as well as the city, you know, that was always the meeting place, you know, the social thing and the religious thing, you know, and everything just was centered around the church.
Now, this was in Waxhaw, Mississippi.
Waxhaw, Mississippi.
And tell me about that place. What was it like growing up there? What did that place feel like to you?
At its peak, it was a general store. At its peak. You know, that means you could get everything you wanted at the store, you know, kind of like a department store, you know, including the mail, you know. So the train never stopped. It would just slow down, you know, and the guy, it had a hook over the track, you know, and, you know, I guess it was, you could call it the caboose, and he would come out, and on a good day, he would hit the hook. On bad days, over in the weeds, you know, so if you were expecting something and you know it was running behind, go over in the weeds and you'll find a bag there, probably with your letter in there.
So was it a difficult life there? Was it a beautiful life there? What was life like for you and your family?
Well, we didn't have the underclass, the permanent poor, you know, probably because we didn't have TV. No reflection on WGN, of course, but yeah, you know, we had a lot of fun. You know, I'm the youngest of 11 children, you know, in big families, always a bunch of folks around, you know, and had a lot of folks to play with and what have you. So, you know, hey, we had fun.
So, and Rick was just talking a while ago about radio. As you were growing up, did you listen to the radio, and what did you hear?
I heard The Shadow, of course. But really, on Saturday night, I listened to the Grand Ole Opry. I knew all the country and western singers, including Minnie Pearl, you know. Rufus Thomas was on WDIA in Memphis. For those of you that don't know, Grand Ole Opry was coming out of Nashville. WDIA was coming out of Memphis. So you had and of course WLAC out of Nashville as well. John R. and Horace Allen and all those guys. So you had your daytime radio as well as your nighttime. But, you know, we always heard Sonny Boy Williamson.
The blues guy.
Yeah, the blues guy. Sonny Boy Williamson was doing the Cane Biscuit Flower Hour. Although he didn't have but 15 minutes, but it was still called the Cane Biscuit Flower Hour, you know. And that's where a lot of the blues guys that a lot of you out there know, they were on that radio station.
And so you were really hearing the first generation blues artists, where it started. You were hearing the first guys, Muddy Waters and so on.
Yeah. You find that out later, you know, because I remember my brother would always take me to the movies, you know, and we always liked all the westerns and things like that. I wasn't aware of it, but I'm sitting in the movie, and who walks out on stage with the band and all was Muddy Waters. You know, didn't mean too much then, but it means more now. I'm saying, I saw Muddy Waters at about 6 or 7 years old. Yeah.
And then we'll have to wrap it up soon, but let me ask you one more thing. From that upbringing, you came up to Chicago. You're about 14 years old in the mid-1950s. What did this big city seem like to you then? What did it feel like to be here then?
Oh, wow. Again, the church still belonged there. Liberty Baptist Church, 49th and King Drive. You know, you go through all these different stages, and when you reach my age, you realize that I was at all these different stations in life. You know, the church, eventually moving out into secular music, which was always there, you know, but we weren't allowed to sing it around the house, you know what I mean? You could get a very serious whooping for doing that, you know. And so now here I am, some years later, that little 6 or 7-year-old boy who saw Muddy Waters. And I'm saying, hey, bud, how you doing? Mr. Waters, nice meeting you. You know, and you could say Howlin' Wolf. You could say they were friends of mine, you know, yeah.
Well, you are our link to them, and we're going to hear you again tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Otis Clay.
You having fun so far? Might as well just stay all night, right? We get lost getting out of here. Please welcome, if you didn't notice them in the lobby as you were coming in, notice them as you were going out, because hanging right from the sky above, kind of near aisle 1, are some of the most magnificent glass pieces of art you will ever see. They were created by my guest, Charles Lawton.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you very much.
You got to see them on the way out if you missed them on the way in. They were put in, they were dedicated today. In my vast career in newspapering, I've interviewed thousands, if not tens of thousands of people. You have the distinction, Charles, of being my first glass blower.
Well, that's good. That's very good. This is a wonderful opportunity.
How does one come to that art form?
Well, it started out, I was a hairstylist for about 13 years, and I got the bug from going to antique shows. I would look at Tiffany glass and all of the great glass that was ever made all the way down through history. And so finally I decided, hey, I can do that. Yeah, my wife thought I was a little nuts, but...
Well, how many people in here would think he was a little nuts? Because glass blowing does not... It appears, from what little I have seen of it, and what we may all have seen of it, to be a difficult, it's not like painting or...
Glass blowing is very complicated, a lot of mathematics, a lot of chemistry, and everything happened really fast for me.
Now, it's my understanding, I met a woman last week at a veterans benefit at the Union League Club who said, oh, you're interviewing Charles Lawton. I used to be a customer of his. I go, what did he do? He cut my hair, and he used to ask his clients to bring in any empty green bottles that they had so he could use for his artwork. Is that true?
That is true. That is true.
So you like started with 7-Up bottles?
I started with Fresca bottles and beer bottles and just clear glass in my backyard, and that was back in 1970. And by 1971, I was fortunate to go to Corning Glass with my wife. And fortunately, I met a lot of people that were later curators of major museums like the Smithsonian and the Ford Museum and all of the big museums. They were in town for that occasion, not for me. But at that particular time, there was not a glass artist in this whole country that was making their living at art glass.
When you look back at this, do you think this was born out of a undiscovered, innate kind of passion in you? What could keep you going if not that?
That's what I call divine intervention.
Yeah.
A passion, a deep passion to do something that you know you can do and you love doing it. My father was a painter here in Chicago for years, and actually he died at 59. But
so there was some kind of art gene within you then.
Yes, and I have 3 boys that are very, very good artists. I mean, exceptional artists.
Do they work in glass?
Oh yes, 2 of them work in glass now, and the other one runs St. John Gates in Indiana.
Wow.
And that's
he
quite
is
a project.
This man now a world-renowned artist. Perhaps you know the name, and tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lawton. Perhaps you know the name Chihuly. Dale Chihuly
sure.
is the most famous glass artist.
He probably is, but he's not.
Are you better than he is?
I can do a lot of things that he can't.
That's the spirit. That's the good old Chicago spirit. I can do a lot of things that he can't. Is there, in the couple minutes we have left, I'm going to go do a story about him for the Tribune, so you subscribers look for it. What is your specialty? There's something about it, what little work I've seen, it sort of seems like an echo or a reflection of the natural world. Am I not being a great art critic here?
Well, you know, you study a lot of glass all the way back to history, all the way back to King Tut's tomb. And we copped a design that came out of that tomb called the King Tut design. And we've made a lot of money and a lot of pieces off of that very concept. But we've also done a lot of beautiful floral pieces down through the years. And I try to make glass for homes. I know Chihuly specializes in business locations, but we specialize in homes. And we make a lot of lamps and a lot of sculptures and a lot of vases, but we make some of the more unusual vases that's really ever been made.
You can see this on the way out of here. You don't push all the way down and smash into aisle 1 and kill each other, but look up in the air. Sometimes it's a beautiful thing to see art kind of suspended there, and you will see his work. Before we leave, why are those there? Did the university commission them and give you a lot of money for them?
Well, no. No, they didn't. I wanted to leave my mark here at the university. We started doing a chandelier for Cafe Borgia, and a lot of lights in there. I think there's about 38 lights in there. And from there, last year, the university presented me with a doctorate degree in art. And I thought, well, the university should get something back from me.
That's not why they give those things, though.
I know that, but it was appreciation, and it really was.
You have got to love, ladies and gentlemen, a man who is able to follow his passion. Charles Lawton, you can see his work out there. You can read about him in a few weeks in the Tribune.
Thank you, Rick.
Welcome to another edition of the Second City Comedy Desk. Desk not included.
In our first story tonight, the troubles keep mounting for Ventra card users after a report that a Ventra card was mailed to a woman who died 5 years ago. In Ventra's defense, the woman had voted in 2 elections since her passing.
A large sinkhole opened in the West Pullman neighborhood Monday. City officials assured residents the sinkhole would be filled immediately if it were in Lincoln Park.
An alligator was discovered at O'Hare International Airport last week. Proper O'Hare protocol was followed as the alligator waited in a security line for an hour before being randomly charged $35.
Iconic Chicago chef Charlie Trotter was laid to rest earlier this week. The late chef's grave will be marked with a simple granite headstone and garnished with a side of braised leeks.
Yum.
Yum indeed. Author and TV pitchman Kevin Trudeau will be incarcerated after being found guilty of contempt and use the opportunity to hawk his newest weight loss secret, prison food. Call now and he'll throw in an awkward shower with a guy named Rocco.
Mundelein is making it illegal for minors to purchase e-cigarettes. If caught, their punishment will be, you know what, screw it, they live in Mundelein, that's punishment enough.
The famed Billy Goat Tavern will be temporarily closed while Michigan Avenue's Realtor building is renovated. In a related story, 42% of Chicago Tribune writers will now see their families for the first time since 1997.
In sports, Charles Tillman will be out for the remainder of the season. That's bad news for the Bears, but good news for NFL players with a peanut allergy. Breaking news, Charles Tillman's nickname is Peanut.
Oh, that's a great one. And finally, an Orland Park library is reviewing a controversial policy that would allow adults to view pornography on library computers. The policy was proposed by the nonprofit organization Homeless Masturbators of Orland Park.
My name is Chris Borelli. I'm a features writer at the Tribune. I write about a lot of really random things, and one of the random things I wrote about a little while ago were these two guys. Actually, they're two members of a much larger group called Team Star Kid. And you guys introduce yourself. Tell you who you are.
Sure. Well, my name is Brian Holden.
And I'm Nick Lang.
And we're two of the founders of Team Star Kid, which basically has become an internet theater company. When we were in college at the University of Michigan, we did a parody musical of Harry Potter and put it on the internet for our friends to see, and it sort of took off as those viral internet things do, and we've been able to develop a fan base online, and now we put all of our musicals online.
But I would say, I don't think internet theater company really explains it. I mean, I've never completely understood what these guys actually do, what they actually are.
Thank you.
Well, it's okay. They're kind of a company. They're kind of a collective, like a theater collective. There's a lot of people involved, and they kind of come and go. I don't know, doomsday cult too, right? I mean, you guys. Yeah.
Yes, we make everyone drink the Kool-Aid. That's right. Yeah, there are a lot of people involved in our production company. A lot of people we know from college.
Most everybody. Yeah. From college. That's all we'll work with.
Yeah.
Only people.
We're not interested in making new acquaintances.
So explain a little bit more, though. You started the first show that you did at University of Michigan was
a Harry Potter musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we're big fans of the book series Harry Potter. You guys know Harry Potter? All right. So we made a silly musical out of it just for fun, and then we were too lazy to make DVDs for the cast members, so we put it online, and then people started to watch it, and thank goodness we were lazy.
Yeah.
Because now that's our career.
But hugely watch it. I mean, let's not say it was just watched by a few people. What was the audience, basically?
In the first week, it got 100 to 150,000 views, and to date, our YouTube channel, which has a lot of different videos on it now, and it's got 6 full-length musicals on it now, has about 150 million YouTube views.
These guys are big deal, seriously. I mean, such a big deal. The first time I met them, it was in Wilmette, and this little redheaded girl came up to them and brought them a big, I think it was a tray of cupcakes, right? And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, you get a lot of stuff from fans, right?
Yes. We have a wonderful fan, thank you, following, and they're very generous and creative. We get food, artwork, drawings of different members of the group, letters. Would you like to?
Hats.
Oh,
they
yeah.
will knit hats for
Yeah.
us.
So we haven't bought clothes in years, you know?
But they also, what's interesting is that once you graduated, you, as a group, they kind of moved to Chicago, and they decided to set up base here and start working. And in the time since Harry Potter, you've done 2 more Harry Potters, right?
Yes, that's right. We've done 2 more Harry Potter musicals as well.
A Batman show.
Yes, we did a Batman as well.
A sci-fi show.
Yes, that's right.
And the most recent one was Twisted, which is kind of Disney, right?
Yeah, yeah, we mainly do parody shows, sort of like, like Mel Brooks, that sort of thing. Only ours are all musical things, and sort of based off stuff that we like or that we have grown up with. And our latest one is sort of a Disney type parody, mainly focusing on the story of Aladdin. But it's also a little bit of Wicked. Do you guys know what Wicked is? And so Wicked is like Wizard of Oz from the Wicked Witch's point of view. So ours was like the story Aladdin, but from the evil vizier's point of view.
I would like to also point out here that your shows are very, very, very long. They were very long at first anyway, right? I mean, has that come down?
Yeah, it has.
We should say how long, though, exactly.
Well, okay. Our longest show, well, wait, let's not start there.
No. What was the longest show? What was the longest show?
Well, the longest show, it was our third Harry Potter show, and that was 4.5 hours long.
But that's only because we never got to do it until the only time we did it live. We never ran through it, so...
We rehearsed it for 2 days and then did it, and it was a cast of 30 people, and it was at a Harry Potter convention here in Chicago at the Hilton. There was a crowd of like 3,000 people there, and it was pretty fun, but pretty
I was there.
pretty
It was crazy.
slapped together.
Yeah. One thing I want to make sure that we touch on here is you have a kind of an interesting dilemma. They do so much stuff that is actually they don't own the property, that you're kind of skating around copyright law a lot here, intellectual property law. Explain to me how you do that, because I know it's kind of convoluted, but it's also kind of interesting too, the way you get around it.
Yeah, we don't sell tickets for any of the plays. That's pretty much it. We have talked with people at Warner Brothers before who conveniently own both the Harry Potter film rights and also the rights to Batman and other DC characters. And what we found, we have a relationship with them now where they say just don't sell tickets to your shows and we won't, sort of come after you and make you take the stuff down. And so we found other ways to survive as a company by selling merchandise that's based on our own original content that we put into the shows. Because they're all original storylines with these characters and things like that. And also doing music tours, like sort of reviews of all of our musicals is one way that we've found to stay alive as a company.
Very poor, basically.
Yeah, we're pretty poor.
You're
Yeah,
poor.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, look, he's wearing a sweatshirt. What do you want us to do?
That's his nice clothes, too, I'm pretty sure. So they're going to do a song. There's going to be a song we're doing right now, and maybe you should set this up a little bit, and I think it needs a little bit of a setup. Yeah.
So for anyone that's familiar with Disney out here, there's like urban legends around the animated musical movies, particularly that there are hidden sexual innuendos and messages in the movies. Like apparently there is a part in The Little Mermaid where there's a priest who has an erection. And
excuse me, a what? Yeah.
An erection.
Oh, okay.
And,
Good.
And then there's a part in like The Lion King where a lion lays down and some leaves come up and they spell. They apparently spell sex, is what I've heard. But Disney says that it says SFX, not sex.
But they've been changing it since the original release.
And then in the movie Aladdin, apparently there's a part where Aladdin quietly tells people to take their clothes off. So
it's basically the Disney version of Paul is Dead, if you real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. So sort of in this upcoming little bit you'll see, it's a song in which Aladdin is talking to the princess, and he might say something. He might
Keep your ears open.
Well, I think we're ready then.
Oh, cool.
All right, thanks. So,
Thank you. Enjoy.
Hey guys. Hey, Aladdin here. Did you guys know there's a way to get people to think about sex without even talking about sex? Yeah, you just gotta do it subliminally. Watch and learn. Hey, babe. Such a beautiful night. Take off your clothes.
What did you just say?
I said it's beautiful out. Look at the west tower of the palace and take off your clothes. What does it look like? A big, long shaft with a tiny little head on top? What does that remind you of?
A giraffe.
Really? It's not what I see. Maybe you can't take off your clothes. Get a good look at it from down here. What do you say we take a magic carpet ride and your clothes off? See that palace of gold, shining, sparkling, metallic, and a little bit phallic. Take a look and you'll agree. See those leaves on the ground, spelling something explicit. Don't you blink or you'll miss it. Gently asking you and me, take off your clothes. So many hidden messages, subtle yet slightly lewd. But if you're shrewd, they'll put you in the mood to take off your clothes.
I feel compelled subconsciously. I don't know why or how, but here and now, I'm tempted to take off my clothes with you.
I wanna take off my clothes with you.
I feel free as a bird, with no cage and no owner.
Look, that priest has a boner.
No, I think that's just his knees.
Take off your clothes.
What a perfect romance.
The universe is
I can't wait till we're
telling
married.
you. Each sign is planted there with loving care. Accept the cosmic dare and take off your clothes, princess. Take off your pants.
Don't have to
Show me your
pretend
magic
with
carpet.
me.
Even the stars above reflect our love. They want me to take off my clothes with you. Take off your clothes.
Wait, not so fast.
Your clothes.
Let's make this last.
At least your top.
Aladdin, stop!
Hey, listen. I know you're scared. I mean, I am too. I've never done this before.
Well, until we're married, can't we just sit out here and look up at the stars?
Okay. Okay. Hey, I respect you, you know? Take off your clothes.
I now pronounce you husband and husband. You may kiss.
This is God. How dare you defy my laws and the laws of men who honor me? For this egregious sin, you will burn in everlasting hellfire. Oh my God, no! No, I'm just kidding. I don't give a shit.
I'm just going to BS for a little while the band sets up. Is my brother Mark still here? He's used to Chicago Live being only 1 hour. He doesn't realize the special thing you're getting. But he did bring me this. You want to see what he brought as a gift for his niece, Fiona? My brother Mark works as running a show in Atlantic City in Foxwoods, Connecticut called Legends in Concert. You ever been to one of those? Big in Vegas. And so this is his idea of a gift for Fiona, is a real glove from the fake Michael Jackson who is in the show. It has 5 or 6 different colors that I will now display to you. Are you guys set up? Please tell me you're ready to go. Because I can't keep going. This is, Mr. Clay is dressed so nicely, and all of you ladies look so beautiful, and so do you gentlemen, that this is not going to work. Are you ready? Yes. What?
Song from the new CD called Truth Is. They say everything happens for a reason, and to everything there's a season. And I could live with that as long as I had my way. You've been gone for a while. I miss your sweet, sweet smile. It keeps haunting me night and day. I thought I could live without you, but it didn't turn out that way. I need you in my life. I'm so lonely without you, and through here I'm still in love with you. I was so sure of myself, I didn't need no one else. It worked before, but soon it would work again. Oh, but it's so confusing, loving you on one hand and not the other. I thought I could shake it off, but I was only fooling myself. I miss your smiling face. I miss your warm embrace. I need you in my life. I'm so lonely without you. Yeah, I'm still in love every day. Thank you so much. Thank you. So good to see everybody. So good to see everybody. Thank all the wonderful folks from Chicago Live, the Tribune, for having such good taste. And you. Yeah, well, anyway, we had about 5 claps on that. Thank you so much. So good seeing everybody. We want to go back. That's from the new album. I don't know if we do have some CDs. I don't know if we can, well, anyway, if you don't get it, you can download it from CD Baby, Amazon.com, and we know who ordered it too. So we won't have to come and visit you. But we do deliver. 1972, I was just a child. But this is the song from 1972. 1, 2, 3, 4.